Hey, what is up, mortals? It is SBurkVA here with a new video for you. Welcome to part number 4 of What If Izuku Had the 10 Rings. I just wanted to greet you guys by saying sit back and relax. You're in for a treat. So, we begin. Dagobah Beach was a true disaster of a place. Unfavorable currents and uncaring persons made it the recipient of most of the trash dumped along the nearby coast. The once beautiful beach had become a dumping ground. Most residents of the nearby houses remembered how it appeared when it was clean. But it had been so long that most just ignored the beach, seeing it as a lost cause and avoiding the place. So most of them paid no mind to the faded red pickup truck that started to frequent the area, nor to the occasional impact sounds, clangs, and yelps, attributing it to who knows what, maybe teenagers being dumb. Unbeknownst to them, the noises were typically made by one Izuku Midoriya and his sometimes too enthusiastic trainer, Toshinori Yagi, better known as All Might. For the past 3 months, the two had been training Izuku's strength and stamina by clearing segments of the beach by hand. The young 14-year-old was slowly building enough strength to move large appliances like fridges by himself, and building enough stamina to do it repeatedly, alongside other workouts like endurance runs. Beyond the physical training, Izuku was also making strides in increasing his control and understanding of his, shall we say, quirk, or rather power, the 10 Rings. The seemingly mystical bands granted Izuku many boons which All Might tended to limit during their training. After all, when a power enhances an ability, it uses one's base strength, in order to get better progression. But Izuku's proficiency had increased greatly. With practice, he could now control them more accurately at range, use all 10 rings to create what was, in essence, a spherical barrier around himself and others, enhance his attacks by sending more than one ring at a target, or just using the typical enhanced strength that using the rings provides. His full power punch made All Might's sweat drop when he first figured it out. And he could suspend the rings in the air to act as platforms to cover distances without touching the ground. All in all, Izuku had made great strides. But All Might felt that something was missing. Watching Izuku practice his punches against a titanium fridge they had found, All Might considered the boy's style. Direct and heavy. Mostly telegraphed punches very much inspired by All Might's own fighting style. Even he could tell it wasn't quite fit for Izuku. The boy wasn't large or bulky, he was much more suited to dodging and weaving, even kicking. And besides, All Might could telegraph his punches because he was too fast for most villains to actually realize he was punching in the first place. Now, the rings. They were powerful, but even with their brute strength, they lent themselves better to be used in conjunction with strategy and technique. Gran Torino's fast-paced style would work well. Unfortunately, All Might had repressed most of that style. All Might shuddered at that thought. Maybe something else then. He would talk with Izuku's mother about that. "Young Midoriya!" All Might called to the boy, who threw one last attack at the fridge, caving in the door and sending a ring out the back of it. Izuku jogged over as the ring returned to his arm. The boy was slightly out of breath, but All Might could see that he had progressed far in their short time. "It's nearly sunset. I'd say that it's a good time to end off for tonight." "But I can keep going. You don't need to worry about me if that's what's going on." No, I don't doubt that. But you can't work yourself to the bone every day. Eventually it'll do more harm than good. And besides, I want to talk to your mother about something anyway." What is it?" "Well, I think it's time we change tack a little in your training." "Huh?" "I'm going to suggest that you try your hand at martial arts. You're a more analytical type than I am, and those rings should work excellently in conjunction with some actual techniques." "What's wrong with what I'm doing already?" "It's not necessarily wrong, maybe a bit sloppy, and I'm just not entirely fit. You're relying too much on simple punches like mine. My fighting style is mostly based on overwhelming strength and speed. You aren't going to be able to do the same. You need to be more targeted, fluid even. And you're going to need to build a style of your own."
All right. Did you have something in mind?"
"You'll find out soon. I just need to consult with your mother first, and potentially make a call or two." What All Might was actually thinking was something like Tai Chi or Baji Quan, and whom he could ask to teach his apprentice. It was something he pondered as he made his way alongside Izuku to the Midoriya's home. It wasn't far. The two came to the door of the apartment and removed their shoes before entering. Izuku deposited the rings in a box at the door before bolting toward the kitchen and his mother. It had been a month since Izuku had told All Might about the true story behind the artifacts. He'd had many doubts at first, but the boy had managed to assuage them quickly. All Might had to give him a lot of credit. Izuku had impressed the #1 hero. From where he stood at the door, All Might could hear Izuku telling his mother that he wanted to talk to her. He heard the clink of a knife being set down and stood straighter as Inko rounded the corner.
So, I'm told you wanted to talk to me about Izuku's training?
Yes, it's gone very well, but I think a new step is going to need to be taken soon. I've had an idea. I think that Izuku would benefit from learning a martial art, maybe Bajikwan or Tai Chi. I have someone in mind that I want to call, but I wanted to get your, permission before that.
I don't have any problems with it. I always hear people saying how it's good for health and self-defense or the like.
Very good! Then the next stage of training shall be even more productive.
Who did you have in mind?
My colleague, Edshot, is very proficient in various martial arts, and I believe he would be very open to training Izuku once he gets to know him.
Oh, Izuku will love that. Another top hero to train him will send him into a mumbling storm.
Oh, I do expect that. After a few more pleasantries, All Might went on his way, returning to his own house and preparing to call his hero colleague. He and Edshot had not worked together that often, but they were cordial colleagues, and All Might knew that he held some weight with the man. He held weight with a lot of people, after all. After arriving home and making himself comfortable, All Might punched in the number, not literally, and called the ninja hero to set up a meeting the next day.
It's sponsor time.
This video is sponsored by Honey. Honey is a free browser add-on available on Google, Opera, Firefox, Safari, and many others. If it's a browser, then it has Honey. Honey automatically saves you money when you check out on a variety of sites, like Amazon, Papa John's, or Kohl's. Wherever you shop, it's a good chance that Honey can save you money. All you have to do when you're checking out at these major sites is click that little orange button, and it'll scan the entire internet to find discount codes for you. It just takes 2 clicks to install Honey. If there is a coupon code, Honey will find it. And if there's not, then you can rest assured that you are getting the best price possible, and there isn't one available on the internet. If you install Honey right now, you can save dozens, if not hundreds of dollars on your shopping doing nothing. There's literally no reason not to install Honey. It takes 2 clicks, 10 million people use it, it has 100,000 5-star reviews. So unless you hate money, you should install Honey. The night came and went, and the next morning, the master and apprentice once again had an early start at the beach. As Izuku jogged up and down the length of the beach, they were joined by the #5 hero Edshot, otherwise known as Shinya Kamihara. Of course, in civilian clothing instead of his rather conspicuous ninja robes. He approached All Might, who was standing nearby. I take it you're the trainer that All Might mentioned would be here. Yagi, yes? All Might nodded. Edshot was not privy to his secrets, so he'd had to flub the truth a little during their call. That's right. It's good to meet you, Edshot. I'm not on duty, nor here in an official capacity. Call me Kamihara. All right, then call me Yagi, because you were already going to do that, but you get it. Edshot was a good bit taller than All Might in his skinny form. A well-built but not bulky individual, he had a similar body type to Izuku. That fact helped in his observations as, with a calculating gaze, he watched the boy run past. Izuku was well built for his age, fast and lithe. Edshot could tell that he may have a bit of a mismatched trainer. All Might said that you wanted that boy trained in martial arts. Why come to me, and not a professional dojo? Simple. Your own styles would likely suit Izuku well, and All Might wants him to be trained by heroes who understand the risks of the job while also ensuring his own personal growth maintains a fast pace. In essence, he is behind his peers in physicality and in technique as well as experience, and you may be the one to offset that, catapulting him to the front of his class. I'll need to see him fight, and also gauge his personality, his motivation. I'm not set on training him yet. But if I'm going to, I need to know who I'm training and how he'll behave. That's fair. All Might called Izuku over once he ran back into earshot. The boy was breathing heavily, but otherwise seemed full of energy.
Yeah, Yagi?
Izuku, this is Kamihara. I've asked him to come and potentially supervise your training, but first I need you to do something. All Might pointed at a nearby junk pile. Can you beat up that fridge for me? Both Edgeshot and Izuku facepalmed at this, but Izuku still went over and started assaulting the fridge with low-power ring strikes. Edgeshot watched closely as he assessed Izuku, making much the same observations as All Might had about his progress. He had potential, but he needed refinement. That he was partially, at least to Edgeshot's knowledge, trained by All Might spoke wonders to the boy's personality, and the brief exchange he had with Yagi revealed timidness on the boy's part, what with the nervous tone and the anxiety stutter. But Edgeshot still needed to see his motivation. Midoriya, come here. The boy stopped in the middle of one of his punches at Edgeshot's command. He quickly recovered and ran over to the two heroes. Yes, You may call me Kamihara, as your sensei does. All right, Kamihara. Why do you want to be a hero, Midoriya? Is it the fame, the power, the influence? No, nothing like that. I just wanted to be a hero who saves people with a smile on his face. A hero who can inspire hope and happiness in people who need it. And just help whoever he can. Is that all? Just, he says. Both All Might and Edgeshot chuckled at how Izuku had made the core value of being a hero sound so simple when so many of their colleagues couldn't seem to grasp it. Edgeshot appreciated the pureness of the ideal. The number 5 hero had to give it to Yagi and All Might. They had found a good student. And perhaps he had too. The kid had drive, power, but also the self-awareness and responsibility, probably, to use the power correctly. So Edgeshot turned and nodded at Yagi before looking back at Midoriya. Then you may call me Kamihara-sensei. Izuku looked at him a bit confused and glanced at All Might, who was still chuckling. Izuku, may I introduce to you your new martial arts instructor, Shinya Kamihara, better known as the number 5 hero, Edgeshot. Wait, what? I'm such a big fan! Can I have your autograph? Both heroes began laughing at the immediate change in attitude, from breathless from training to complete and utter fanboy. As he laughed, Edgeshot knew he was making the right choice in helping with Izuku's training. Plus, it would give him experience when he starts to take on sidekicks. I suppose you can have an autograph, in time. For now, we should figure out what school of martial arts will suit you best. 7 months of progress later, Izuku stands before the imposing gates of UA High. Adorned in his school uniform, the 10 rings solidly on his arms, and a martial arts gi just poking out of the bag on his back. He was finally there. His dream was about to unfold in front of him. He took his first steps on the path to being the number 1 hero, and promptly tripped over a shoelace. He braced himself as he fell through the air, but the impact never came. Instead, he found himself suspended in midair, with his feet just barely off the ground. Sorry for using my quirk on you, but it would be bad luck to fall. Just before an exam, you know? Izuku nodded, dumbly. Anyway, good luck. The gravity girl steepled her fingers together, releasing her quirk's hold on Izuku, and made her way to the exam hall, leaving the boy internally screaming. I just talked to a girl! He in fact did not. But Izuku still exclaimed it as he started to rush toward the exam hall as well, narrowly avoiding a rather explosive Pomeranian on his way. Thank you all for sticking around, and I hope that you enjoyed. Before you leave, we would just like to let you know that We the Celestials has many other channels for your entertainment and viewing purposes. All the information you'll need is right below here in the description below. So, feel free to check out all the other incredible projects our team creates. Secondly, on behalf of We the Celestials, I'd like to thank everyone involved in the production of today's awesome content. Their details will be in the description below.